Welcome to the Nest Show, the podcast that brings you insights into the crypto market, trading and investment experiences, and what we're looking forward to as we navigate the space together. Before we get started with the show, I want to thank our friends and sponsors over at Prime XBT, where many of our listeners have already signed up to trade by visiting the birbnest.com/PrimeXBT. Prime XBT is the most powerful trading platform offering immediate access to over 30 assets. Users may trade cryptocurrencies, Forex, commodities, stock indices, and much more, all from a single Bitcoin settled account. And now for the show. What the Nest Show is. This is a podcast brought to you by the Birb Nest community, an independent crypto and Forex-centered trading community built to sharpen each other in capturing opportunities in the markets while protecting capital along the way. What this is not. Trading advice. We are not financial advisors, and you should not regard any information here or in the Nest Club as financial advice. You should always consult a licensed financial advisor before making any financial decisions.
Hey everybody, it's Crypto Birb, it's Adrian. Welcome to today's episode, very special episode of the Nest Show podcast. And I'm very lucky, I'm very happy, I'm very excited because today I'm having a special guest. A big name in the space of a big company in the crypto scene that they all have been here for a long time, improving the ecosystem. And I'm very excited to welcome HENRIK, HJELTE, the CEO and co-founder at Chromium, today with us. I hope you are doing okay, HENRIK. Relational blockchain, while this has already been sort of like touched upon, I couldn't be more excited about, just getting started 2021, which is hopefully better, than 2020 for all the businesses, for everybody ever on the planet, because, 2020 has been so much mess for the businesses, for the clients, for everybody's lives, pretty much, right? It pretty much like made so many businesses collapse. And honestly speaking, I have big dose of respect to all the businesses that are actually not only surviving, but they continue to develop within this, pandemic, right? So I'm very much eager to hear, if you can tell me or elaborate more about the development plans for 2021 for Chromium.
Yeah, I mean, we've been continued to develop under 2020. It was a tough year for us as well, and to focus and refocus and so on. What happened in the crypto space was a lot of interest in DeFi apps, of course, last year. Mm-hmm. So we sort of replanned a little bit on our launch schedule and said that we need to have quite soon an integration with Ethereum to get those kind of apps as well on our blockchain. And we could be a layer 2 to solve the issue around fees and performance. And we do that in a very good way, I think, because performance is basically unlimited scalability on our model, because it can be one application can consist of several chain together blockchains, so it can be very much scalable. But it's also about the fact that a lot of DeFi is around finance, and finance is best done with secure technology that can work over time. That's a database. This is what is used for basically all the other financial applications in the normal world. So our technology, which is a combination between a traditional database and a blockchain, is very, very good as a layer 2, I think. So that's what we did last year, and there was a project started called HJELTE for options that is building out now on Chromium. So I think that was one of the reasons we got a little bit delayed on our previous plan to do the full rollout on our mainnet, because we wanted to have the Ethereum features. So slightly reprioritization that happened. So that's what we're going to do now, that we are very excited about, sort of have a more proper launch on a mainnet that is where you can install applications freely, etc. We have a mainnet now sort of for testing purposes and getting it bootstrapped for different providers that will help out around the network, etc. But that's what I'm looking forward to a lot, to have a more easy to see releases of our stuff. we have like an internal roadmap. It's kind of technical, but I'm just scamming it. The unofficial technical roadmap here. Yeah, this L2 subsystem. Yeah, that's kind of going to be released very soon, which means Ethereum integration, basically. It could also be other blockchains in the future, or blockchain technologies. Cross-chain communication. So we are, yeah. So we'll have a complete implementation in March about that. That's what we hope. Also, we are working on various gaming features, such as NFT protocols that are slightly different and slightly more elaborate than on other blockchains. So that's something we're also adding. So it's kind of different teams working on this. We have a core team working on the core technology, and people that are building sort of in between applications and the core team. So do this more like protocols on top of the blockchain, which is like for gaming. So I released then Q2 about our first mainnet that is autonomous, which is a second mainnet release. And that's sort of on the technical roadmap for the first quarter. And we are also sort of onboarding new projects that are working on our platform, several in DeFi, some enterprise project, but also games and sort of areas we haven't explored that much previously in supply chain and so on. That is sort of traditional blockchain areas, but
Okay, I appreciate that. I mean, this is definitely a fair answer. It's very hard to also. I have, for myself being also the CEO for my own brand for the Birb Nest.
Yeah.
I can also definitely relate, with one sort of like this back, just a thought at the back of it of the end of the head that it's still about big uncertainty, right? It's still about a big uncertainty for everybody. People, just never know if they actually, are going to save their sort of like posts, their jobs, outside, whenever they're big for work, big corporations, there are going to be definitely a lot of changes in the stuff, a lot of changes in the human resources. A lot of people would go fired, a lot of people would just pretty much like, just stay around as well. But this economic situation, this political situation across the globe as well, it's not only US that is sort of like being the bigger player, because in Europe, I'm from myself from Poland, right, which is not far away from Sweden as well. But we are dealing all together, like as the world, with similar sort of like issues right now. Uncertainty, big uncertainty, the economic recession, and all the actual sort of like just effects, results of 2020, right? Many companies actually collapsed already. So as I said, I mean, it takes really big and got like good management for the company, not only to persist, but also keep growing. And then in this big uncertainty and this big mess, to keep planning, whatever, the flexibility allowed in the company. We need to have the plans. We need to have a lot of emergency plans, right? So I definitely appreciate, all that you shared regarding, the Q1, Q2 sort of like focuses. And as we proceed, there is definitely this one topic, this one, just word, like abbreviation that had been, that has been on the mouths of many people recently, which is NFTs, right? Non-fungible tokens. And I mean, what has definitely become quite an interest, for the people is to know whether or not there will be NFTs, that will be a part of Chromium ecosystem on the way. Like, what's your thoughts on that? What are your comments on that?
Yeah, It's in a way it's crazy about this NFT, because that was like the first technology that we had in 2012, 13 on the color coins. That previously we had Bitcoin for paying stuff, but now with our color coins protocol, you can have NFTs tokens. But I couldn't see at the time this world come, so I'm becoming more and more of a futurist every year. And I couldn't even see the gaming applications coming as strong as they have been. Still leaves quite a lot of going mainstream, but it's fantastic to see the interest and to talk with people in the blockchain gaming world, and sort of everyone is excited and building on stuff. And I think that, I mean, what we can improve on, I can say it's good with NFTs, like you have a token and it represents ownership in a game. Yeah, it's fantastic. You didn't have that before, but still it is mainly basically a hex code encoded into a blockchain. So your sword is actually a sequence of digits. There is a slight problem, I think. If you have a commercial company running a game and they turn off the servers, you have your hex code. And what do you do with it? Maybe you have some kind of representation of it being a sword, yes, but no longer use the sword in the game. So where is the value? Is it a limited edition now of graphical items, etc.? So NFTs are nice, but it's still very young technology that you can improve on, because we all want to have decentralized sort of solution over things. So if we can improve on NFTs both by maybe having the graphical representation on chain or like easily provable, that's good. They're working on that on the Ethereum protocol layer as well, I think. But also have more complex NFTs where you can compose. Maybe a car has an engine that has doors, and you can upgrade the wheels, etc., still preserving the identity, but sort of interchange things. So having like a composable NFTs. We're also working, which I think is completely unique, is to have logic encoded on the NFT layers. So maybe you can have a car that has a maximum speed. Some might have, if you add a turbo engine, maybe you can increase the speed, etc. So you can have logic encoding how an engine works, and sort of your NFTs can have abilities to improve the amount of air that goes into the motor. Thus, if you hook it up with a motor, your turbo NFT can improve the performance, and you can use that in the game. So encode the logic as well in NFT layer. So basically, object orientation is not only objects and items; it should also have code. So that's one of the aspects that we are using to build up on our protocol layer for NFTs. We call it Chromium Originals. So that's something we are working on this spring. We'll release. Of course, we'll keep working on it, but the early parts.
Okay. Okay.
So, of course, in natural, working with game companies as well on this, and what are the features required, but also taking more futuristic. What can we do with blockchain, and see who wants to build on it.
Okay. I definitely respect. As I said, the fact that NFTs, have been here for so long, and actually we all know that crypto scene, is very pretty much like non-tangible. Just it's very hard to sort of like have or become physical to some extent, right? Because we are connecting literally like in a similar way that stocks are representing the value for some sort of like more or less physical values, right? So when you have the company, you have some physical documentation in the form of shares that are represented when they're publicly listed, that they have the value, right? Here, cryptocurrency market is so much driven by the communities themselves. They are just driven by the communities themselves. because the truth is, the tokens, they don't really get you the same, they don't grant you the same rights, the same sort of like rights, on like as the stocks would do, right? So this means we are dealing as the cryptocurrency market, as the traders, as investors, as the community sort of like participants, as company like supporters for Chromium and for other projects as well. We are dealing with something that is pretty much like just virtual, right? You can barely see the physical products, which is so hard to actually cope. This is a big obstacle and a big barrier. When you produce cars, right? When Ford produces cars, we can touch the car, right? But when the company in the crypto scene just produces business products in the form of tokens, right? You cannot really touch the tokens. You don't know they actually exist. I mean, it may sound just funny or hilarious to many people, but that's always the kind of like a thought that we have just somewhere inside us, that we know we are dealing with something that we cannot touch that, right? We cannot smell that. We cannot pretty much like just interact in some physical way with that. And the NFTs, to some extent, are pretty much like just the bridge between that, right? Or the bridge, the NFTs are the bridge, be it visual bridge. You can actually just monetize some companies, the tokenize some companies. I mean, the tokenized cars. You can tokenize ships, real estate, and so on and so forth. And all of a sudden, we have NFTs as the bridge solution. We can literally connect the bridges between the real world, the physical world, which people can touch, smell, and so on and so forth, with the senses, and the crypto scene. So I personally think this is a very, very important proxy, for many projects to pretty much like just go on and grow. And this NFTs, just also sort of like has a lot in common with the gaming area, because I know Chromium, is dealing with gaming as well. And I personally, I wish to be a gamer, but my time doesn't really allow for that.
Yeah, I feel the same a little bit.
Right, I know. And but still there are many gamers in the space. And so here's the one for the gamers. Like, what can we expect in future regarding the gaming in Chromium?
I mean, we are part of the blockchain gaming movement, but we always want to take one step further. Like I'm talking about the NFT protocols, which are more complex, and you can have logic embedded in the NFTs and composable items, etc. So that's of course brings value to the gaming aspects. Then we always had the vision that you could actually. I mean, one thing that attracted us to gaming from is the fact that we could prove some things. We can prove that we can have scalable, lots of transactions, etc., without having to go to a government and spend 10 years to do a proof of concept for an e-currency or something. I mean, we've been dealing with currencies and governments and banks, etc. But they're kind of slow. So games is nice because we can easily like prove transaction volume and prove that core tech works. It's also very that you can explore new things, which is awesome, without necessarily having to go through millions of political scientists and lawyers to get voting working in the real world. But in a game, you can quite easily experiment with new things. So things that we want to experiment with is having complete logic on the chain, because it can prove for Chromium, can show that our technology is capable of having complex logic on chain without being too complicated to work with. So it's a good sort of case for us. And we had another team that was working on the Chromium platform did a game called Chain of Alliance, which has like an auto battler with a complete logic on chain, which is very cool. So we didn't do the first one ourselves, but that's something for the future that would be very interesting to have logic on chain. Another thing is how we govern games. I talked about like what happens if the gaming company turns off the servers, then your NFTs are screwed, basically. So can we do like new governance models for games where the players have a say in how the games run? Maybe you give away the rights from the developers to just shut off the servers, maybe the gamers can pinch in and pay for continue to run the game. And maybe you'll have like approval rights if you're going to change the rules and make your sword useless because you know, or unbalanced or something. Maybe you have a political election inside a decentralized organization. So playing with forms of governance is something that's very exciting, I think. As well as maybe we can fund games in a new way. We're trying to think on that as well. Maybe have like the players invest into the games, having rights into the games, and having more interactive marketplaces for games, where gamers are investors, players, as well as, you know, control basically the general public of the gaming platform.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of high level talk now. In concretely, there is a game now that is being developed called My Neighbor Alice, which is like a crypto native game, multiplayer game, sort of focusing on a slightly different audience. So not focusing on the cryptocurrency community necessarily, and more on, I will slightly more lean towards female players. It's very creative. You make buildings. It's kind of cute graphics and inspired quite a lot by some big successes, such as a game on Nintendo Switch that I get a name for right now, but it's one of the big ones.
That's fine.
Animal Crossing. That's the.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's My Neighbor Alice game, and there are other games as well. We had a team game Mines of Dalarnia that will be re-released, and there are other games being planned on the platform to be concrete on launches. Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate that. You know, it reminds me, like when you mentioned this Nintendo like gaming device, I actually just, you know, recalled and got the dreams back from my childhood when I was playing Pokemon all day night, you know, and this was my only sort of like concern throughout the day, you know, whether I'd reach some certain level or not. But, you know, I until very, you know, just recently, I've been past like until that few years ago, I hadn't been really aware for how big the gaming scene is, right? And gaming has actually become, you know, just a very, very worldwide big interest, you know, in esports, right? You can play the esports. You have actual competition with big money involved. You know, all the big YouTubers, all the big influencers are mainly gamers, right? You would have many gamers, like all the biggest names in the YouTube scene.
The sports section in the newspaper is half filled with esports now. Like 1 year since 1 year ago. It's crazy.
Exactly, right? Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Especially now that, you know, people were sitting in the lockdown, you know, while having, let's say, so much less to do because of being tired, or, you know, just being permanently jobless because of the, you know, of the COVID results and everything. So gaming has only become stronger and bigger, and that, I think, accelerates the overall direction for many businesses as well, empowers the gaming and the online sort of like remote and just activities, right? And but for building the games, for building sort of like any other, you know, just upgrades to the Chromium ecosystem, to the platform, to the gaming side, and more, to the studio, we need the developers. We need talented people. We need an actual team that is ready to commit, you know, within the uncertain situations, within the uncertainty of the pandemic, of the global, people who can commit, you know, with their actual lives. And the truth is, you know, we need those people. I'm speaking from my perspective as well as the, you know, as the employer, but you know that perfectly also as the CEO, right, and as the employer. And here's the question then: why would the developers like continue wanting to build on Chromium? Like, what makes developers come to Chromium?
Well, I mean, partly it could be that they share sort of the ideas and the vision that I talked about, like to advance gaming into I mean, if you're into esports now, for example, you might see a problem that you have the big gaming companies releasing the game, and then you have the players as consumers, and it's basically like social media. The big gaming companies, they can decide that this gamer used the bot, we think, and you don't have a court to go to, you're just banned for life, or whatever you do. So it's very much like dominated by big players. So you might have the vision that we can do better, particularly in the pandemic where everyone is the world becomes the internet. So have control issues that I'm talking about. Maybe that's part of your vision, that you feel that that's interesting. And you as a developer want to do new kinds of games, which is not only you are producing, the players are consuming, but you want to change that power balancing. Give away rights to the players. And so take blockchain gaming into a new level. Could be one for a developer. I'm a developer too, at least I used to be before I started to...
You never quit that. Once you become one, you never quit that.
It's so fun. I love it. But I seldom get the time. But now I can do a script to get some information. I'm like, yeah. And when I was a developer, I was always looking for new tools that can solve my issues in the best way. So I was looking at, you don't stop with your, at least not if you're a good developer, you don't stop with a language that you learn and you just keep working on it. You try to see what's happening now. There's something new happening. You try to experiment with new languages. And why do you pick a language? Because they provide new ways to express things. Cool is like a Common Lisp new edition on Java. That can give me some benefit. You want to try Airline? Yeah, it's great for building distributed apps. I want to try that. I can't do that with my current tool set. And then you are stuck in Java world, and here comes Node.js, and these kids do things faster. I want to try it. What can that bring? Sort of. Always looking for new productive tools. So that's why PHP is not anymore the dominant language on the web, because there came new technologies. Everyone wants to build with React.js because it provides benefits, makes less bugs, more productive. It's a good tool. So that's where Chromium and our technology comes. We have a language that is based on the same ideas about databases being a good way to manage data. So sadly, I have to argue for that quite a lot in the blockchain world, but it's the fact of life that relational databases are used to manage data very successfully. But it's also like a better version than SQL, which is kind of not the most trendy or best language, which is managing data. But we want, so we take SQL, the database model, and add some kind of hipster logic, making it very nice to work with, very efficient.
Hipster logic, I love that.
I mean, you can express things in much fewer lines of code and do more complex things compared to, databases as well, but also with other blockchains. We did some comparison in the lines of code with another project. No big difference with that project and other project, but it was like up to 1/10 of the lines of code with our language, because it's very based on a mathematical model and very expressive. So it's a nice language, and that's why developers, we like that, because we like productive tools. And it will get the message will get out when you see that you can do things that are aesthetically pleasing. Believe it or not, developers like kind of beauty in code. If you can see this pile of lines of code to accomplish something, and you see like this small amount of elegant mathematical logic, you will be attracted to that. So that's what we are selling, basically, productive and good experience to do also more complex things, which also translates to business value. Of course, a few lines of code makes it easier to do complex applications and so on.
Yeah. I think you touched upon very, very, very interesting part. Because the whole world just is going, just following the new direction of going lean. Everything needs to be lean right now. both on the management side, you just eliminate the processes that are not really just performing so well, or you just make them shorter, you just automate that, right? And similarly, the code goes leaner, right? So all of that companies like going leaner, just let you pretty much, of course, like limit the costs that you spend, right? Limit the actual spendings, as I say, which leaves more money for the development, for reinvestments for Chromia, for example, to grow as well, right? Because of saving the costs and saving big money. And I think this is also like this being lean, this lean mindset, this lean mindset that lets you iterate all the processes, all the just loop all the management, but also on the code side, right? Until the perfect solution is met, until the perfect solution is generated, which is exactly what sort of like the businesses need nowadays. I mean, that perfectly. Because that's exactly what Chromia has been doing for some time already. I've been just definitely a thorough spectator to all your just developments, and just very recently, they're on the Chromia side, uh, just for example, I'm opening the Twitter, right? And what I can say is that there is a new partnership with Blockhouse, right, to bring scalable tokenization solutions to real estate market, right?
Yep.
So we are talking, about the Chromia Studios as well for the gaming, right? We are talking about also for the overall, just sort of like amount of partnerships, the connections, the bridges that you as Chromia, your CEO, are building, and the bridges are needed because if we fight for the adoption, that's what I believe in. If we fight for the adoption for the crypto to go global, the only way to do that is to reach via the bridges, is to build the networks, is to build the actual just connections to distribute and broadcast your message, your idea, your business values to the outside, and to be able to convince people, not even convince, but just to show them to what extent blockchain technology that Chromia is just proposing uh, is much more efficient than any technology that is old school, that is outdated, anymore. Banks are using blockchain, they used to fight that, but until the moment they actually realized it's impossible not only to fight but to win that war, based on the technology, banks actually started using the blockchain. So we are talking about huge sort of like generational revolution, in my opinion, and we are like many people will not really be aware of it. We are literally working and dealing with big things that the books will be written on, in the near future. And if you if you agree, because you've already been very generous with your time, I think our listeners and viewers, perhaps before we just give a quick slot for the Q&A questions at the very end, there's one or two questions left that I also very much wanted personally to ask you, Henrik. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, sure. I have time.
Awesome. Yeah. So as I said, I'm big believer. I'm big believer for the entire industry. I'm big believer for Chromia, and but the truth is that if we want to reach out to the world, as I said, to broadcast the message outside, not only just address those who already know about Chromia, but address those who actually don't really have much understanding of what Chromia is, what you guys offer, what your sort of like proposal for the values are, proposals are. So if you were to sort of like just put it in your own words, simply, to those who actually are unaware of Chromia, like what makes Chromia so special?
Yeah, it's slightly hard for someone that doesn't know about technology that much and sort of about blockchain. But I would say that I'll talk a little bit about technology and try to explain it, what makes it different. Like Chromia is the only blockchain that is building on the ID that is completely dominant on how to manage data. We're building on the same technology that built Facebook, that built SAP, or the banking apps, Amazon.com, like everything that built the web. So we're the only blockchain that are based on that kind of database model. So it makes it easy to do applications, and that's why Chromia is different to most of the other stuff out there.
Okay, I think that's, the simpler the better. So I definitely take that answer. I take that answer. But to kind of like give this final touch, final question from me, that I'm also personally very curious to learn more about. Uh, there's not a single person in the crypto scene that would tell that DeFi is passe. DeFi actually, is just performing high. DeFi is actually pumping. I'm not saying necessarily price wise, but it's pumping as the sort of like a section, as a field
Yeah.
of cryptocurrency industry, as the entire sort of like ecosystem. So with all the DeFi growth, decentralized finance, the borrowing, the lending, staking and whatnot, is there a place for Chromia and for the token for CHR, or for the technology in the DeFi space?
Yeah, it is, because I talk with several projects that want to build something in DeFi. And what's happening with DeFi is, of course, you want to build more complex things. And when you want to build more complex things, you come to us, or you want to compete on the prices because it's been expensive with all or the bad performance. And if you have those problems, you go to a layer 2 solution like ours, or some other layer 2 solutions. So there's a lot of DeFi apps, I think, that could be perfectly working. Probably not only on Chromium, unless you attract a new market, but for people that already, like, you have the assets on Ethereum, but you do the transaction volumes and the marketplace and things like that on Chromium, and eventually can move it back. So functioning as a layer 2. Eventually, you never know. So if you want to attract like more on Chromia, I don't know. It's not everyone I know outside of crypto is using DeFi. Actually, no one, but so far, so it's still untapped potential to grow. So we have this project HEDGET, that's basically options, that is public on Chromia, but there are also other projects coming.
Okay. I love that. And as I said, before I let you go, before I let you continue being one of the most promising, just companies in the space of the session, I definitely want to give a very very quick, just chance for a couple of questions to be answered from the chat. Is that okay with you?
Yeah. Take some hard ones.
Awesome. So there is. I'm just reading up the chat, on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
There is a question just right on the bottom, a fresh one from Luigino Collaborato. Sorry if I just misspelled that. The question is, what will Chromia be in 5 years from now?
I think it be quite established technology stack that people are building all sorts of applications on. Something that you take for granted. And I also think that we can innovate in our own. We have a pretty unique niche now, combining databases and blockchain, but there's also room for innovation in that area, that sector.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but do you have any idea where, let's say, crypto is actually going in the next 5 years?
Yeah, crypto is. I mean, we talked about last year, and you mentioned like everyone is home, when we are sharing sort of the same, even political landscape. But now everything is turning to crypto. I would say, like the fact that, what they call it, big tech have the ultimate rule over censoring over politicians, etc. And so that's something that blockchain technology can mitigate. And the fact that we are living in, working from home, working together on projects, etc., that's like a perfect fit for actually doing decentralized organizations that actually work in the real world, like globally. Which isn't that easy to make something that is working for real. I mean, you can do DAO, but you can imagine that it becomes almost mainstream, where all jobs you apply for, you have a stake in the company and voting rights, and you're paid in cryptocurrencies, and you can work globally, etc. So there's a lot of everything that the digitalization works for crypto, as well as slightly on the AI is nice, but it's also slightly a threat, and we can have a blockchain as a counter argument and have. We actually worked on the project for Chromium with public sector in Sweden to how to have evidence about what data the blockchain made a decision about, and so stamp that into a blockchain so to provide evidence about decision making for AI. So blockchains and cryptocurrencies is definitely something for the future.
Okay, I respect that answer. And there are a couple of more, but I definitely don't want to like just keep you for too long over here.
That's okay, but take a good ones. I have.
Okay, so there is the question also from Brian 30. How will you convince us, which is the viewers, to invest long term in this project?
I mean, if I need to first, you can look at our team. Sort of, we've been working in the field together as a company since 2014, as an open source project since 2012, 13. Look at my co-founders my co-founder Or was one of the first mentioned on about the Bitcoin wallets. Even he did like a wallet with the CTO Ripple later in 2011 called SafeBit. So he's been around for a long time. Alex as well, and I've been working with Alex, our CTO, since 2006. So I mean, we are not here for sort of a quick into blockchain. We've been sort of forming the industry and been around, so we have quite a lot of experience, and we're also very good at the technology aspects, and I think that we're in like a long-term bet. There's a lot of technical aspects about our technology being more productive that makes it into a good bet going forward.
Yeah, and I take that as an answer as well, because I usually prefer long-term investments rather than short-term because of the range of volatility that, from the investment point of view and from the technical point of view, for me being the technical analyst, that I can spot on the crypto right now. Right, the volatility means risk. So if you actually don't zoom this out, you can actually just miss out on the big rallies. I remember missing such rallies in 2017 because per my own wish, per my own request, because I was too impatient on the short-term sort of like timeframes, which I definitely can confirm. That crypto as a whole is definitely improving, is definitely just advancing. Is emerging. And Chromium has been here for a long time already. It's not a short-term gig, just like Henrik said. It's a long-term value that the company is building. So you would see many long-term investors dedicated, just funds into Chromium. I'm one of them, actually. So I'm happy to. I'm happy. I'm happy, as I said. I just believe, right? So but apart from the belief, there needs to be rational analysis, of course. And from my rational analysis, Chromium being part of the movement is definitely undervalued. And the last one, because I definitely, I don't want to be this cold-hearted man that just goes on and on. This is the last one, the very, very last one to quote this entire meeting.
That's
yeah.
But it's fun stuff. Yeah, I will. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there is
at the end sometime, but yeah.
There is a question actually from Anastasia, right? Will Chromium participate in only offline events? Will Chromium participate in offline events when the restrictions are over?
Oh yeah. There was some years and I thought I was traveling too much, but now, I kind of miss it. So we will definitely be trying to attend events and so on, and travel around and meet developers, etc. So
yeah,
absolutely invite us. So.
Yeah, and I'm also happy because not many people know I actually got the chance to promote technical analysis of Bitcoin. In 2019, right, live on stage on my keynote speech in front of big names in Las Vegas 2019, and God, how much I missed those times. When you could really just travel all across the globe, and just go and just perform on the stage. And I'm happy also, kind of like just making this public statement for you, Henrik, that whenever you need my help, being the certified technical analyst, to go and help to understand, Chromia price action development, the market insights, live on stage, wherever on the planet, online or offline. I'm already dedicated enough to announce that.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic to have a
help you out
technical analysis show.
One day in person, that definitely would be a great pleasure.
But online, I will be on some kind of Binance conference next week, I think so.
I love that. That's a very big news. That's a very big news. Yeah, that's a very big news, Henrik, and everybody should definitely pay attention to Chromia. Everybody should pay attention to HENRIK HJELTE as well. Everybody should pay attention to Chromia, to Chromaway, to all the gaming aspects, to all the progress that Chromia is just developing and has developed despite many months of struggles, for the global scale, right? Because we are still in the pandemic officially. We're still in the recession officially. So it's not easy task. And definitely those who perform well, which can be seen, from, and I heard from Henrik's words, this is what just characterizes the best companies, the best of the best. And Chromia is definitely one of the big players. And with that having said, I definitely want to leave you guys with the final sort of like suggestion, final tip from HENRIK before we disconnect, so that you guys, all the people in the in the comments, in the watching, the viewers, the listeners, have this one tip that you could share, perhaps, HENRIK, with us.
That I should share for the for you. Yeah, I mean, you know more than I do, but what can that be? Yeah, hodl, I guess. That's yeah.
That's enough. That's enough. I take it. That for me as well is good enough. Hodl is the answer. Hodl is the answer, guys. HENRIK HJELTE. HJELTE has been my great guest. This has been a great honor to host this big session, this big AMA live stream with you, HENRIK. And I truly appreciate your coming. I truly appreciate your being so awesome. And I wish you all the best so that you and Chromia just goes to be the leader.
Nice. But yeah, thank you for having me. It was great fun. I will happily do it again. And thanks everyone for listening in and posting questions as well. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was HENRIK HJELTE, CEO and co-founder of Chromia. And your host has been today, Adrian CryptoBirb. And we'll make sure to make a podcast out of it as well. So stay tuned, guys. I appreciate it coming, HENRIK.
DeFi Click democratizes the lending market by offering both collateralized and uncollateralized loans to everyone with cross-chain interoperability through Polkadot. For more information, visit thebirbnest.com/DeFi-Click.
I'd like to thank our listeners for joining this episode of The Nest Show. If you've appreciated the depth and breadth of what you've heard with us today, subscribe to our podcast and find our landing page at thebirbnest.com. We have a vibrant Discord community which acts as our central hub of operations, and we welcome you to join us at thebirbnest.com/Discord. We also offer an extensive free bulletin on emerging crypto market trends, exclusive undervalued gem reports, and in-depth expert technical and fundamental analysis at thebirbnest.com/bulletin. We always appreciate engagement from our community, which of course means liking the video and subscribing to our page, where we insist on bringing you the highest quality content available. Also, we're happy to incorporate tips and topics from our listeners and encourage you to email us at thenestshow@thebirbnest.com. This podcast is brought to you by the Birb Nest. Thank you, and trade on.